How's it slicing? Yeah. It's Africa, guys. So, like, as much as the background is nice, where I'm sitting right now, the mosquitoes are just munching on me, and yeah, it's not nice. Um, but I thought about not doing the final predictions and just the upsets predictions. But I was like, you know what? I have a lot to say about this card. And even though it's late, I'm going to try and push as much as I can. Gokhan, how are you, my guy? Welcome to the stream, my dude. Um, I was recovering from the Mackenzie Dern card. I didn't even do the prediction results video. The last time I felt like this was in sorry, I was eating mango. So okay, it's removed. Yeah. So Gokhan, nah, I'm good, man. The last time I felt like what I was feeling when after the Mackenzie Dern and Amada he was card. You know, fortunate. Like obviously, maybe it's not a great thing. It's not something I should be celebrating, but it makes me a little bit happy whenever. Okay, not happy, but I'm a little bit comfortable whenever I know that the majority of the channels that do well, whenever I get picks wrong, they normally get worse. Like I've never actually been the worst, even on my worst night. I don't know if I make sense, right? Even on my worst night, I'm not the worst prediction channel. Like there are so many good channels that are normally below me as far as prediction accuracy goes. Um, so yeah, let's get to the final predictions for the entire card, right? Um, so UFC 311. I actually was thinking of just doing these a bit later on, but uh, we move on. So Tagir Ulambekov versus Clayton Carpenter. My subscribers and I went with Tagir Ulambekov. Um, this is one of those predictions that I'm not very confident in. Um, I feel like Clayton Carpenter is a little bit better. I'm not gonna lie. To me, this fight is basically Tagir will win by decision. Yeah, most likely. But to me personally, I feel like this fight is going to be quite literally um, 50-50, to be honest. Um, and if Tagir was not training with Habib and Islam and all these type of things, I think I wouldn't have picked him, right? Because I feel like Clayton Carpenter has a really good shot at winning. Um, so yeah, it's going to be a tricky fight. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people might think it is going to be. But you know what? After the terrible week I had last week, um, it's hard for me to actually even be confident. I know it's just 1 week, but I expect excellence from myself. Anyway, let me see what the Gokhan is saying. Habib told I will be in his corner, and I think he won't lose. Yeah, that's basically one of the leading reasons. To me, this fight is 50-50, right? But I leaned to one towards Tagir largely because of Habib. Like I can't remember anyone who has been trained by Habib losing a fight, especially recently, right? So I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm not very confident in Tagir winning this fight, but my subscribers and I are going with him. Anyway, on to the next one. Ricky Turcios versus Dagestan is different. Yeah, yeah. They've been dominating, man. They've been dominating. Ricky Turcios versus Bernardo Sopaj. My subscribers and I went with Bernardo Sopaj. Um, Here's the thing, right? I know a lot of people feel like Ricky Turcios is trash, but to me, for me personally, even in the fights that he has been losing, um, I don't know, man. I feel like there's something there that people are not seeing, and I feel like he's going to shock people if the UFC continues to give him a shot at different contenders. Now, I'm picking Bernardo Sopaj. However, I feel like there's a possibility Ricky Turcios might actually shock us. Um, Let me see. Walter D, welcome to the stream, my guy. I got Mirab. How is he an underdog? We'll get to Mirab. I don't think Mirab is going to win, but you know what? I mean, anyone can disagree with me at this point because like I didn't do so well last week. So um, Bernardo did good against Oliveira, while Tokyo is struggling against Chihuahuas. Bernardo via decision, I guess. I mean, I understand your reasoning. Um, I understand your reasoning, but I feel like, for example, on the feed, I feel like Ricky Turcios, to be honest, might shock a lot of people. I think the reach, he has a little bit of power. I think he is going to be a little bit more. I think he's defensively sound to some extent. Is he that bad? Who's that bad though? Or are you talking about Ricky Turkish? I don't know. A lot of people feel like he is terrible. I don't think he's terrible, but a lot of people think he is, which is honestly sad. But yeah, for me personally, I don't think that he's that bad. But for most people, he is. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people. What I could see happening here is because I feel like on the feed, Ricky Turkey stands a good shot at actually winning, right? I feel like Sopaj needs to take the fight to the ground in order to have like a definitive shot at winning this fight. I don't know. That's my analysis. I could be wrong. Maybe I haven't seen enough from Sopaj. Yeah, maybe that's the reason. I need to see a little bit more from him in order to be able to be as confident as everyone else. But from what I've seen so far, I feel like Ricky Turkios has a shot. And for example, um, Punahele Soriano. So Punahele Soriano is one of the few examples. I was like, the guy is trash and all these type of things, but I didn't actually say he is like trash, but still, it's a similar example because I don't feel like anyone gave Punahele Soriano a shot against Uros Medic, including myself, right? And look what happened. There's a couple of people. There were a lot of underdogs that actually got the W that people were counting out. Including myself. I'm one of those people who are counting out these particular underdogs, and that's why I ended up with 50%. 50% depresses me. It might be good, like for other people. For me, it's a massive loss. Anyway, so there were a lot of people who were discrediting a lot of underdogs, right? And they shocked, not just surprised, but they shocked a lot of us. Um, so to me personally, I don't think Ricky Turkios is that trash. Like to be honest, I don't think Ricky Turkios is that trash. And if he shows up, I think he's going to shock a lot of people, right? But it could also be because I haven't seen enough from Sopaj in order to be confident that he can actually definitively get it done, right? But yeah, I'm still picking Bernardo Sopaj. But I feel like Sopaj needs to take the fight to the ground to have the best shot at winning. That's my personal opinion. Hopefully, um, this time I'll make sure that I stream it with you guys, so that I can actually eat my words if I have to. Bokod Hasla. So pie. Oh, so pie. Okay, is that how it's pronounced? Thank you for that, my guy. I appreciate that. Yeah, on to the next one. But my subscribers and I are going with Bernardo Sopai. Okay, thank you for that. Rinya Nakamura versus Muin Gafurov. Um, my subscribers and I went with obviously Rinya Nakamura. Uh, if there's anyone who's going to win on this card, it's Rinya Nakamura. Like, I don't know. I saw Peyton Talbot as like, I don't know. Is he a minus 1,000 something? FNO, no problem, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anyone who's aware of how much of a favorite is Peyton Talbot? For me personally, I feel like Rinya Nakamura actually, if he loses, I don't know, man. like, if there's anyone who's supposed to win on this card, like it doesn't, even if he doesn't show up at his best, he needs to win this fight. Like I don't necessarily expect him to lose. It doesn't matter where the fight goes, whether he decides he wants to grapple, whether he decides he wants to strike, it doesn't really matter. Wherever the fight takes place, Rinya Nakamura is supposed to win this fight. I think he's, I think he's better everywhere. That's why I'm like, I think he needs it. Not just think, he needs to win this. It would be embarrassing if he lost, man, because I don't see any reason for him to actually lose this fight. So yeah, Rinya Nakamura is probably my most confident pick on this particular card. On to the next one, Carol Rosa versus Aileen Perez. My subscribers and I went with Aileen Perez. I struggled a lot with this particular pick. Um, Largely because I feel like Carol Rosa is a very talented fighter. Not very, but I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like she's a little bit more concentrated in her career. Her last few performances have been good. Um, Whereas I feel like Aileen Perez, she's good, but I feel like the level of competition that she's been facing is not okay. It's decent, but there's just something that I feel like she's missing. But I felt the same way about Mackenzie Dern. I felt like she was a bit distracted, and you know what? She surprised me. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm still picking Aileen Perez. But I wouldn't be shocked if Carol Rosa won this particular fight. Because of the two, I feel like Carol Rosa is a little bit more focused on her career. So I honestly wouldn't be shocked. Um, Father Wahid, didn't know you're a black dude. Yeah, I am a black dude, my guy. Um, Gokhan Aaron, I hope they give the decision to Perez for that cake show. Yeah, I hope so too, man. That's very entertaining to watch. Yeah, I'm a black dude, by the way. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I feel like Carol Rosa is the better fighter, to be honest. Um, Sopaj versus Turkios. I already predicted it, but basically I'm going with Sopaj, but Sopai. But you know what? Like you can always watch the stream. There's a couple of fights that I have to go through, and I feel like the more I get to the top, I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to break down a little bit more, so I don't want to waste time going back. Um, so yeah, I feel like Carol Rosa is the better fighter, but I'm going with Aileen Perez. I'm not going to even lie to you. Um, it's the strategy. I have a system of I have a system of predicting fights, and my system of predicting fights is the reason I got 70% the prediction accuracy in 2024. So it's difficult for me to actually explain it to you because it takes into account so many different aspects. that it's really difficult to actually break it down. But still, like the only reason I'm picking Alien Perez, if I wasn't using this strategy, if I was using my logic and based on my personal knowledge, which hasn't been that great in the past, that's why I created the system. I would have went with Carol Rosa, but I mean, I tried it when I started the channel in 2023. I was using my personal opinion, and it wasn't serving me well. That's why I created this whole system of predicting fights. So yeah, I'm going with Alien Perez. That's what the strategy says. And so far, even on my worst night, I'm not the worst predictor among the best predictors. So it shows that the prediction works really well. Anyway, so yeah, I'm picking Alien Perez. Not very confident. On to the next one: Zachary Reese versus Azamad Bakoyev. My subscribers and I went with Zachary Reese. I forgot to actually for Bogdan Guskov and Zachary Reese. Um, the fights were replaced a bit short notice, so I didn't have enough time to actually add the research that I made. Because as you can see, I'm actually predicting these fights a little bit later on. But I don't know, man. I see a lot of people. Where am I? Yeah, Zachary Reese. I see Azamad Bekoyev is a favorite for some reason. Maybe he's talented, but I will say that the last time where I picked someone who was opposite to the favorite who came in on short notice was when what do you call him, Magdek Orobai was coming in on short notice against Uros Medic, and Orobai ended up winning. Right, Orobai was the favorite when he came in on short notice. Um, he's not the favorite. I saw somewhere, I don't know, maybe it's the UFC website that's messed up because on the UFC website I think Azamad Bekoyev is the favorite. I don't know. I could be wrong. Thank you for that, my guy. So yeah, hopefully then that's the case because I was a little bit shocked or like, how is this guy who's coming in on short notice like the favorite? But yeah, thank you for that, Gokhan. I'll break down both Bogdan Guskov's fight as well as Zachary Reese. I'll try to make sure that I add a little bit more information on them when I do the upsets predictions on Friday. But for now, I did my enough research to make my prediction, and I went with Zachary Reese. I mean, he's more seasoned in the UFC. I think he is more of a finisher. They feeding Guskov. I'll get to Guskov. I'll give you my opinion, but like I said, I needed to do a little bit more research, especially on the new replacements. But yeah, picking Zachary Reese. On to the next one: Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. My subscribers and I went with Grant Dawson. Another fight whereby gonna be very tricky because Diego Ferreira actually gave Mateus Rabecki a run for his money. Something came into my mouth. Wow, that sounded weird. Guskov is a savage. He can win over the top five. I don't know, man. I don't know if Guskov is that good. But we'll get to Guskov. So Grant Dawson. Here's my thing with if Diego Ferreira was a little bit younger, I would have picked him, right? But I don't know. I feel like Grant Dawson has a couple of tools that will probably be enough to actually get it done. Um, I know we've seen a lot of older fighters doing well against younger fighters, but I mean, um, Grant Dawson still has championship aspirations, and the motivation for me is important because it tells me you go into the gym preparing or training to become a champion. So the likelihood of you improving is significantly high, which is the mindset of Grant Dawson. Number two, he used to be in the top 10. of the lightweight division, and it's not an easy thing to do, right? Like if, for example, just to give you an idea of how difficult it is to get into the top 15, if you take everyone from the top six until the bottom 15 of the heavyweight division, all of them would probably never ever make it into the top 15 of the lightweight division. I feel like they are so flippin' skilled that to get in there, it's almost an achievement. Like Islam Makhachev, like that's why there haven't been that many lightweight champions, because whoever becomes champion needs to be exceptionally talented, and they are able to retain the belt a little bit, even though it's a couple of defenses. But there haven't been that many, largely because it requires an exceptionally large amount of skill. Like for example, Dustin Poirier in any other division, I feel like would have became a champion. For example, at welterweight, well, if Kamaru Usman was not there, I feel like he would have been a champion. If Dustin Poirier was a middleweight or was a light heavyweight or was a heavyweight fighter, I think he would have definitely been a champion. So I feel like the skill level at lightweight is significantly high. But the point I'm trying to make is Grant Dawson was in the top 10, right? I'm trying to actually make points to actually justify picking him over Diego Ferreira. I feel like Grant Dawson also has a higher probability of finishing a fight as opposed to Diego Ferreira. And obviously, the age is not helping the situation. But I'm not very confident, but I'm picking Grant Dawson. My subscribers are also picking Grant Dawson. Um, Largely because there are a couple of things that, well, basically I just mentioned right now. So yeah, not very confident, but I'm going with Grant Dawson. So yeah, on to the next one: Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Alekhan. My subscribers and I went with Bogdan Guskov. Um, uh, Bogdan Guskov. I feel like Johnny Walker got cancelled, but I picked Johnny Walker to beat Bogdan Guskov. I feel like Guskov is very slow. He he reminds me of who? And I remember I said this to someone in the comment section. I was like, Johnny Walker is not that great, but it takes someone who's really talented to actually beat him up. Because look at the people who have beaten up Johnny Walker. It's Jamal Hill, it's Magomed Ankalaev. It's a couple of people who have done decently well after beating him. So it's not just anyone who's going to just beat the Johnny Walker, you know. So I don't know. I feel like Bogdan Guskov is very slow, but I'm breaking down the wrong fight because Johnny Walker is no longer here. But the point I was trying to make was that I don't feel like Bogdan Guskov is that talented. He has power, but he's very sloppy. I see a more slimmer, I'd say a less toned Vito Petrino with a bit of an IQ as far as fight. Like to me personally, that's what I see when I look at Bogdan Guskov. He has a little bit of IQ, more IQ than Vito Petrino. Um, yeah, even the cardio I'd compare it to Vito Petrino. It's not that great. I think the main difference is that Bogdan Guskov has a little bit of a fight IQ than Vito Petrino. That's how I look at Bogdan Guskov, to be honest. Maybe he's going to improve as time progresses. But in this particular fight, I mean, it's short notice. The guy doesn't look like he's going to be particularly good at anything, to be honest. So I agree with the sentiment. Um, yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you, Gokan. I honestly hear you. So yeah, I feel like Bogdan is probably going to win, but I think it would be stretching it to say Bogdan is good. Like it's not that good. Yeah. Anyway, let me respond to some of your comments before I proceed. Um, Guskov is savage. He can win over the top five. I disagree with that. No, he can't. Yeah, I honestly, Reese's striking is good, but his takedown isn't good. So Azamad has a big takedown game. Okay, maybe he might actually win. Dawson jumped to top 10 because of his takedown game, but his strike. Yeah, that's why I'm a bit wary and I'm a bit worried about picking Grant Dawson, largely because my niece is leaving. Largely because I feel like he has a lot to work on, right? So that's why I'm a bit worried about this particular pick. Um, Paradox the Chad. Dawson should be easy money. I guess maybe we'll see, man. We'll see. But I honestly don't know. I mean, even in the last fight, I wasn't that confident in Grant Dawson, but he came through. He pulled through, man. So maybe he might do the same thing here. Kevin Durant. I appreciate you. Thank you, my guy. Um, Gokhan Aaron. If Bobby Green didn't put him in sleep, I would say 100% confident in Grant Dawson. But I hear you. But I mean, losing to Bobby Green is not that bad. I feel like he got caught. If maybe for example Grant Dawson lost in maybe the first minute of the second round, or actually even lost in the second round, I'd say definitely Bobby Green won that. Like he beat him. Even if Grant Dawson was winning, Bobby Green would have found a way to win. In that particular moment, I felt like Grant Dawson made a sloppy move and got caught, which is basically for me the same as what happened to Aljamain Sterling when he was fighting Sean O'Malley. I honestly feel like he got caught. So yeah, even though Aljamain Sterling is unbearable, but yeah, I think maybe I should move on. Um, let me see. Paradox. Carlos isn't gonna get a chance to strike with him. Dawson is gonna be shooting for his life. Yeah, I also agree, man. Hisari, Big Boss, what do you think about Moicano and Hill? I'm coming to them. I'm almost there. Two fights really keep me thinking. Okay, cool. Let me actually move on. Jelton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. Um, on the feet, I feel like the fight is going to be close. Um, I feel like Jelton Almeida is going to have some level of an ability to actually stand. I think that's why he hasn't been hit that much. Like the only time that he's ever been really properly hit was with Curtis Blades, and I mean Curtis Blades has been in the top five for the majority of his career. So losing to him is no shame, you know. Um, it just means you need to improve. But Curtis Blades has been in the top five, irrespective of how you might feel about him. Losing to Curtis Blades is not that bad. But yeah, I feel like on the feed, the Jelton Almeida and Spivak will be more or less evenly matched. We all know that the best path to victory for Almeida is to take down Spivak and actually submit him or control him, right? But it seems like Almeida struggles with the bigger guys, especially because he's small. He's supposed to be at light heavyweight, but I'm sure he saw an opportunity to actually move up because the heavyweight division does not have talent, right? You can actually, like a lot of lightweights, even though I don't feel like lightweight also has a lot of talent, it's a couple of people that can actually fight. Like, for example, Alexander Reykik, maybe Jan Blahovic, Alex Pereira. Uh, I think I'd say Yuri Prohaska, maybe Jamal Hill, Ankalaev. There's a few, but I mean, out of the like the top five, basically, those are the people who I feel like can have the ability to fight. Everyone else, it's a bit tricky. Um, but yeah, Let me see. I feel like Jilton Almeida will probably win, but he struggles. Look at what happened when he fought um, Derek Brunson. I mean, Derek Brunson does not have, not Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis does not have any sort of a ground game, but he was able to survive against Jilton Almeida, obviously because of Derek Lewis's size. So obviously, people who have a bit of size give Almeida a bit of trouble, right? So to be honest, I don't know. I feel like Spivak has some frame to him, so that might be a problem. But I still feel like Jilton Almeida should actually win this one. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I think I'm a bit. I wouldn't say confident. Let me not say confident, but I think Jilton Almeida should actually definitely win this one. On to the next one. Peyton Talbot versus Raoni Barcelos. My subscribers and I went with Peyton Talbot. Peyton should obviously Peyton is untested for me personally because we've never seen anyone push him up until maybe the second round or third round. Cameron Simon, I mean, I feel bad, man. That's my country, man. But man, like, he beat that guy up, man. Like he assaulted. Like that wasn't him beat. Like that was an assault on a UFC fighter. That was bad to watch. Like ever since that loss, Cameron Simon has disappeared. I'm sure I've seen a couple of adverts in South Africa. So I don't know if I'm assuming he's been training. He's been trying to improve. Hopefully he hasn't been like doing like media work and stuff like that because that was bad. So he hasn't been like it's been a very long time since that particular fight, and Cameron Simon has not been back since then. But yeah, Peyton is very good on the feed. His takedown defense is really good. But we it's easy to have a good takedown defense if you're not fighting someone who's a specialist. I mean, I know he's fought like decent grapplers, but I feel like I need to see him against the like talented grapplers, right? But I still feel like he probably beats Raoni Barcelos. I don't see who has Raoni Barcelos beaten. I can't even remember who Raoni Barcelos has actually beaten. Who is worth mentioning, right? But still, I mean, he's been in the UFC for a very long time. He's a UFC veteran. So, but I think he's been exchanging wins and losses. That's probably what has kept him in the UFC. He hasn't lost so much that the UFC has been like, oh, okay, like you're not valuable anymore. Like go to the other promotions. But yeah, definitely Peyton is going to win. But for me personally, if you were to ask me who am I more confident in, number one, I'd say Rinya Nakamura. Maybe Peyton Talbot. I'd probably put him at number three, maybe three or four. I'll tell you who's number two and number three. I'll get to that as I go. See, Bess, yeah, poor camera. Like that was bad, man. Anyway, let me move on to the next one. Peyton Talbot is probably going to win this one. Kevin Holland versus Reina Derrida. Here's another thing. Kevin Holland is probably one of the most disappointing talents in the UFC because it seems like he's accepted the position that he's in and he knows he will forever have a place in the UFC because Dana White loves him, basically. So he doesn't have to work like extra hard because he is confident in the fact that his job is not on the line whenever he fights. He's confident that even if, like, he's confident that even if he goes on a Tony Ferguson esque losing streak, like, he probably won't have his job, right? So, because of that, because of the security, it's making him complacent. It's making him lazy. I don't know. I don't think it's even laziness. I'd say someone said it a little bit better. I think it was MMA Guru. He said Kevin Holland does not necessarily try because he's afraid of failing. But if he doesn't try, he can actually say, "Well, I wasn't giving it my all, so even if you beat me, it wasn't my best." So he's afraid of losing so much that he's like, yeah, you can beat me, but that wasn't my best. Like, if you look at all the fights that he's been losing, he there's a built-in excuse in there. Like, for example, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, when he lost to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he could have said, well, I mean, if I had taken you down, I probably would have won. I just wanted to test myself and my striking. Like, there's all these fights. The fight against Jack Della Maddalena, it seems like he wasn't trying to even win, right? But let me not go too far back in his fights. His last fight, like, how do you lose to Roman Dolidze, man? Like, why? Like, why would you lose to Roman Dolidze? I think Kevin Holland, number one, should stay at welterweight. I think he is able to defend takedowns a little bit better, but I feel like whenever it gets difficult at a specific division, he moves, right? He was getting taken down a lot at middleweight, and like every single fight, he was being taken down. Every single fight, he was being taken down, and he was like, you know what? I'm tired of these dudes. And he actually even said it. He was like, I'm tired of these dudes taking me down. I'm going to welterweight. He got to welterweight, and I felt like he was a little bit better at defending takedowns at welterweight, right? And then he ran across a couple of hurdles in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Jack Deramela Lena, as well as Michael Venom Page. And then he was like, you know what? Maybe middleweight is not that bad. He goes up and he gets taken down. It feels like whenever it gets difficult in a specific division, Kevin Holland just gives up, man, and he tries to run away. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Holland says, "You know what? I'm tired. I'm bulking up. I'm going to light heavyweight." Like, I wouldn't be shocked because whenever it gets difficult, whenever he gets a couple of losses, he changes divisions. Um, so, but I still do believe that Kevin Holland has the ability to actually be like a prospect, a contender, not a prospect, like a contender, if he puts in the work. If you see the scrambles, and I think if you're a true fan of mixed martial arts, you can identify the scrambles of Kevin Holland when he was fighting Hamza Chimaev, because he was doing the right things that gave Hamza Chimaev. Kevin Holland had a better defensive wrestling against Hamza Chimaev than Robert Whittaker. Unfortunately, like, if you look at the defense of Kevin Holland, and that was Kevin Holland on short notice, but maybe that performance was fueled by the fact that Kevin Holland had an altercation with Hamza Chimaev prior to them fighting. So maybe it was like I'm not gonna let this dude beat me up, and that just goes to show that if Kevin Holland is motivated, he can do crazy things. Because like I was saying right now, compare the fight with Hamza Chimaev versus Kevin Holland, and compare that fight with Hamza Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker. And obviously, you can make the argument that, well, Hamza Chimaev made improvements to his fighting abilities, and the Hamza Chimaev that faced Kevin Holland was a little bit more reckless, and he wasn't as matured as the Hamza Chimaev that fought Robert Whittaker. That would be a fair argument. But my point is, I feel like if Kevin Holland was as motivated as he was, Hamza Chimaev was running through everyone. When Kevin Holland fought Hamza Chimaev, the only other person that had given him a challenge at that point, I think, was Gilbert Burns, right? So if you can do decently against Hamza Chimaev defensively, I mean, I think you have a shot. You just need to give yourself a bit of a chance by actually putting in the work. And I feel like he's not trying, man. That's why I say there's talent. I saw glimpses of it when he was fighting Hamza Chimaev. And combine that with the striking ability of Kevin Holland, I mean, he could have potentially been a champion at middleweight, but he never actually tried. So it sucks. Reina Derrida, he looked terrible against Gerald Mearshard, but he ultimately ended up finding a submission. Kevin Holland is allergic to takedowns. I think the UFC is giving him takedowns, but again, grapplers on purpose to make sure that he works on his grappling. Because if Kevin Holland can somehow manage to work on his grappling, it's gonna be a problem. Especially at middleweight, I think it's going to be a serious problem. So yeah, I picked my subscribers and I went with Derrida. I'm not gonna sit here and say Derrida is the next champion. I'm not very confident in Derrida. I think this fight is very close. I think anything can happen in this particular fight. I'm not going to Rizla. So yeah, man. I'm going with the Raider, but yeah, I'm not very confident because of the two. I feel like Kevin Holland is the more talented fighter. The problem is he's not taking his career very seriously, right? But I mean, it is what it is. He took the decision. He even proclaimed that he's the gatekeeper at welterweight, but he left his gate. So I don't know what he is right now. Anyway, on to the next one. So we went with Reina Derrida, but I wouldn't be shocked if Kevin Holland wins. I hope he doesn't because it doesn't seem like he's interested in actually becoming anything. Let the ones who actually want to become champions win, not the person who's just going to exchange losses and wins with everyone. Anyway, on to the next one. Benil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Um, Surprisingly, I know a lot of people trash Renato Moicano striking, and rightfully so. And I know a lot of people assume that that Renato Moicano is supposed to take Benil Dariush down in order to actually have any success or any shot at actually winning this particular fight. But I think in this particular fight, I would side with Renato Moicano as far as striking goes. And as far as the ground game, I think a lot of people forget that Benil Dariush has a ground game, right? That's one of the reasons why people were like, "Oh my God, Islam Makhachev is," which is funny now in hindsight. But a lot of people were like, "Yeah, Benil Dariush does not." But again, Islam Makhachev is afraid. I get it. Benil Dariush was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev. I think when Islam fought Bobby Green, I think after or somewhere around that time, Islam Makhachev was supposed to fight him, and Islam was like, "No, I want to fight for the belt." And people were busy saying Islam is afraid of Benil Dariush, which is funny today, largely because they felt like, well, Dariush has a ground game, Dariush has striking, which honestly we saw against Mateus Gamron. So to be honest, I feel like this fight might surprise a lot of people. Dariush might have success on the ground, and Renato Moicano might actually have success on the feet. Right? I'm not very confident because I still don't think Renato Moicano is that talented. I just think he's a little bit more motivated than Benil Dariush. Um, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like he's going to win. There's something in number one momentum. Someone who's been getting a couple of wins, that's very important, and also believing that you can make it to the belt. Like once you lose once, it's fine, but when you lose twice, it's like okay, do I still have it? And I feel like that's where Benil Dariush is. He's questioning his abilities to fight. I'm sure. I heard him speaking about that when he lost to, was it Aman Sarugian? I think when he lost to Aman Sarugian, I think that's when he started to question his abilities to fight, and he did actually even say that, and he was like, at this point, then I need to actually see if I'm good, I'm still good, and if I can still make it run. If not, then I'm not gonna be doing this for a very long time. Right. So I'm going with Renato Moicano. Not very confident. Um, But yeah, I think he's more motivated. I think he has a little bit more momentum. I think he's a little bit more. I wouldn't say a little bit more well-rounded. I feel like both of them are very well-rounded. Dariush has the experience, but whenever someone gets into the top 10, I stop counting. Actually, the top 15, I stop counting who has more experience. Because as you can see, Umar Nomagomedov beat Corey Sanhagen, but I guess that's a bad example. Because Umar is not like a normal athlete. Like it's like an exception. Basically, it's like me using an example, Hamza Chimaev as an example. Like it's not a fair example to use. Anyway, um, I think Renato Moicano is going to win. Not very confident, but yeah. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. I honestly can't believe I went with Jiri Prohaska. Um, but yeah, honestly, I don't know, man. I just feel like Yuri Prohaska has a couple of ways to win this particular fight. I always give fighters the benefit of the doubt, and people might think I'm picking Yuri Prohaska largely because of public hate or I don't even hate the Jamal Hill. I just think he's delusional. But if you've been following my channel, I would never pick anyone for petty reasons. I would never not pick anyone for petty reasons. Like, for example, when Peyton Talbot was fighting Cameron Simon, I actually picked Peyton Talbot because I was like, I'm not going to pick Cameron Simon only because Cameron is from South Africa, right? So just because he's from South Africa, it doesn't mean I have to pick him. If I'm aiming accuracy for my channel, I can't be picking people for my own biases. That because then I'm not trying to be accurate. I'm just doing what I'm doing for the hell of it. So even in this particular instance, people might think I'm just picking Hill because I'm going with the trend of. I'm picking Jiri because I'm going with the trend of picking against Hill. To be honest, I went into my analysis when I was analyzing these fights. I thought I was going to go with Hill, Jamal Hill, but I felt like Yuri Prohaska, the things that Alex Pereira was able to do to Yuri Prohaska. I don't know if Jamal Hill is quick enough and has dynamic movement that can actually give Yuri Prohaska the kind of problems that Jamal Hill and not Jamal Hill, Alex Pereira as well as Alexander Rakik as well. Like I feel like Rakik and and Alex Pereira are exceptionally talented strikers. I know people when once someone starts losing, all of a sudden they're trash, right? That's how people view things. But if you put Rakik in a fight with Jamal Hill, I think Alexander Rakik is going to win that fight, right? Because I feel like Ray Kick is a little bit more talented. I feel like his cardio maybe might be a problem. I think he gives up a little bit towards the end of the fight, but I think the mere fact that Ray Kick was unable to, and obviously he was winning that particular fight, because he was landing the cleaner shots. But if Ray Kick couldn't finish him, then I don't know if Jamal Hill is going to be able to do it. And people forget that obviously, obviously, maybe you can make the argument that well, Yuri Prohaska had a shot to learn how to fight with Alex Pereira, which would be a fair argument. But Yuri Prohaska actually made it to the second round. With if we're going to be comparing who performed better against Alex Pereira, I mean Yuri Prohaska actually made it to the second round. Um, Jamal Hill didn't. And he can act like, oh my God, the referee stepped in. He threw the first punch. If you were not ready, or if you are going to make the argument that well, I wasn't ready to engage, then you shouldn't have thrown the first punch. Then we would accept your idea or your view of okay, I got distracted. For me, that's BS. Like I can't take that argument to say, Well, I got distracted by the referee when you are the one who threw the first punch, right? So for me, I feel like Jiri Prohaska did better against Alex Pereira than Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill got knocked out in the first round, and obviously Yiri got dropped in the first round, but he actually lost in the second round. That matters. It's kind of like comparing losses basically. For example, the success that Khalil Rountree had against Alex Pereira should actually show you that okay, if Khalil Rountree fought some of these top five fighters, like for example Jamal Hill, he probably might have have better success and probably might win, especially with his approach. But obviously, stars makes fights. I feel like another element is after the Alex Pereira loss, Yuri Prohaska said something that he's never said before. He said, "I either have to improve or I have to stop fighting." Right? So I don't think, and you could see that he actually meant that. Like he doesn't see the point of fighting if he's continuously losing. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Yuri Prohaska has improved. Right? I don't know where, because the only thing that needs improvement is defense. Like defense, Yuri Prohaska has horrible defense. So if Yuri Prohaska somehow managed to work even a little bit on his striking defense, he's gonna be a very serious problem for anyone in the light heavyweight division. But even if Yuri Prohaska has not worked significantly on his defense, I think he is so offensively good that he will give Jamal Hill problems, like significant problems. Jamal Hill went to a decision, and I understand that Jamal Hill did not have enough time to prepare, but he went to a decision with a 42, was it a 43 or 44-year old Glover Teixeira. He couldn't finish him, right? And to be fair, Yuri Prohaska was losing against Glover Teixeira, but it was a little bit earlier on. But it was a couple of months. Let me not act like a couple of months makes a difference. But still, he couldn't finish him. Yuri Prohaska actually found a way to finish him, right? So that's why, like, the only thing we can do at this point is look at common opponents. Alex Pereira, Yuri Prohaska did better against Alex Pereira than Jamal Hill. He lasted a little bit longer. Um, what do you call him? Glover Teixeira. Jamal Hill actually won by the decision. Yuri Prohaska actually finished him. Right? I get that the other one was actually fighting a little bit more smarter and he didn't have as much time. But there are certain things that make me feel like I, I don't know, man. I don't think Jamal Hill is going to win this fight, especially if Yuri Prohaska did what he said he's going to do. He said either I'm going to stop fighting or I'm going to improve, and I hope he improved his defense. And I think we're going to see a different Yuri Prohaska. And to be honest, I don't know if Jamal Hill is that talented, man. I honestly don't know if Jamal Hill is that talented. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Cause so far, if people remember, I think people need to also remember this. Jamal Hill is not tested, right? We have to also remember that Jamal Hill is not tested. Jamal Hill was ranked number, I don't know, 8 or 7 when he got the title shot, right? So he hadn't fought anyone in the top five. The only person he beat in the top five is Glover Teixeira. He failed against Alex Pereira. So far, we are basing Jamal Hill's talent on beating a 42-year-old or 43-year-old. At least when you look at Yuri Prohaska, he's beaten what do you call him? The guy who went with John Jones, like who? Um, Alexander, what again? Reyes, Dominic Reyes, yes, Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes was in the top five when Yuri Prohaska knocked him out. Um, Alexander Reykik, I think, did they fight? No, no. Reykik, I think, was fighting Jan Blachowicz. Yuri Prohaska has actually beaten, I think, a couple of top five contenders, whereas I don't think Jamal Hill has actually beaten like a proper top five, except Glover Teixeira. And before that, Jamal Hill was not even in the top five. So I don't know where people are getting this idea that Jamal Hill is an elite fighter, because so far he hasn't proven it. The only proof we have is that he has beaten a 44-year-old, and that's the only proof we have, or he belongs in the top five. Apart from that, it's like seeing someone in the regional. It's like is it not the Nakamura? Who's this guy who was fighting Pantoja? The guy who was fighting Pantoja was busy knocking people out there. It's easy when you are fighting lower ranked fighters, but we haven't seen you against the top level competition. And what happened when he faced top level competition? He lost, right? Similarly with Jamal Hill. So far, there's no proof that he belongs in the top five. He hasn't earned it. Like, he hasn't earned it at all. So I don't know where people are getting this idea that Jamal Hill is like this elite level fighter. Um, and that's why the reason why I'm going on this deep dive. If I'm wrong, someone is going to trash me in the comment section. But the point I'm trying to make is, if we look at how Yuri Prohaska got to the title, he actually faced a couple of contenders. I can highlight one at the very least. At the very least, Yuri Prohaska beat Dominic Reyes, who was in the top five at the time, and actually beat Glover Teixeira. Right? Jamal Hill beat Glover Teixeira after Glover Teixeira went to a war. And obviously, Glover Teixeira is old. So a war, no trash, dog. We're all wrong sometimes. Yeah, I appreciate that. So, 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 so if you look at, for example, like that's the point I was trying to make. If you look at how Hiri Prohaska got to the belt, at the very least he can say I beat a top five contender for my title shot. Jamal Hill cannot say that, and on top of that, he hasn't beaten any top five contender except Glover Teixeira, who was basically a champion at that time. So I can give him that. But apart from that, name one top five contender that at the time that Jamal Hill beat them. Like, there's no top five contender that Jamal Hill has beaten. So people are basing their opinion of what Jamal Hill can do based on what Jamal Hill did to Johnny Walker, for example. People are basing their opinion of what Jamal Hill can do based on what he did to a couple of fighters in the bottom 10 of the division. I mean, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's an elite fighter. So in conclusion, I've been ranting about this particular fight. But for me personally, I don't think there's enough information that convinces me that Jamal Hill is better. Jamal loses to Halil as well. Yeah. So there's no information that tells me that Jamal Hill is better because he's untested. And people forget that the only top, the only the only top five win that Jamal Hill has is Glover Teixeira. No one else. Like, he doesn't have a top five win except Glover Teixeira. That's crazy. And then people are like, well, he is incredible. He's going to just, Yuri Prohaska is very reckless. Yeah, he's very reckless. But look at the people who have beaten him. Like, I think, yeah, who has Yuri Prohaska lost to, actually? Only Alex Pereira, right? Am I wrong? That's crazy, actually. Like, guys, can you please correct me? Who has Yuri Prohaska lost to, actually? It's only been Alex Pereira, if I'm not mistaken. Who else did Yuri Prohaska fight? Bro, I'm in a huge loss. People forget, man. People forget, man. Why are you in huge loss, my guy? So I want to finish up this thing, but guys, please remind me of this particular what was the question I was asking, and it was very important about yeah, I was asking, has Yiri Prohaska lost to anyone in the lightweight division except Alex Pereira? Because I think he's lost like four people. He's lost like four people. No, I'm talking about in the UFC. In the UFC, and since he got into the UFC, how many people have beaten him? Can you give me like a couple of people that have beat Yuri Prohaska in the UFC? I'm curious. He cleaned up Ray kick. He stole it against Glover. Lost to Alex badly twice, but that's it. In UFC, he's lost to Alex only. Yeah. So so that makes this even more crazier, because in the UFC, actually, Jamal Hill has lost to Alex Pereira and Paul Craig, right? I don't know if there's shame in losing to Paul Craig or not, but still, he lost to two people, right? When you compare the level of success as far as wins, if we minus the 44-year-old Glover Teixeira, Yuri Prohaska still has a win in the top five. Jamal Hill doesn't. If we look at when Yuri Prohaska got his title shot, Yuri Prohaska was in the top five. Jamal Hill was in the bottom 10 when he got his title shot. So to me, he's not tested. So I hope in conclusion that explains why I'm picking Yuri Prohaska, because I don't want people to think, well, this guy's just picking Yuri Prohaska because it's in fashion to hate um um Jamal Hill. I don't hate anyone. Like, I don't know these people. I have no reason. I can dislike. I don't like Aljamain Sterling, but I still defend him sometimes. You know, there are a couple of fighters I don't like Marab, but I can't deny the fact that he has something that a lot of, even though I don't think he can actually properly fight, he still has the ability to actually win fights, right? So I don't know these people. I don't have a reason to just pick against them because of my own personal bias. That's not what my channel is about. So I think that sums up my reasoning. Wow, and there's two more fights to go. I talk a lot, guys. I think you should have been like, dude, wait. You've been talking too much. Anyway, on to the next one. Marab Devalishvili versus Umar Nomagomedov. My subscribers and I went with Umar Nomagomedov. Another one. I don't see Marab winning this particular fight, right? We hear this about we heard this about Habib Nurmagomedov when he was getting the title shot. Oh my God, who has he fought? Dagestani privilege, which is crazy to me because a lot of privilege is given. Like, for example, Kevin Holland gets a lot of privilege. Kobe Covington has been getting so much privilege, but you don't hear people saying American privilege. Like, so it's crazy for me. So when it happens to a specific group of people, it's privilege. But when Kevin Holland is on the main card of every single pay per view after losing two fights in a row, it's not privilege. When Kobe Covington gets a title shot after beating up old people, senior citizens, it's not privilege. But like, for some reason, but let me not even go there. So Umar versus Merab Devalishvili. I think this is, I don't know why this is difficult for a lot of people to understand. The only advantage that Merab has is shooting takedowns. He's not very good at it, to be honest. That's the only thing, right? And to be fair, that's the only thing that got him the belt, right? But so far, he hasn't fought anyone who can actually wrestle. Well, except Henry Cejudo, but Henry Cejudo was coming off the couch, right? I mean, even Aljamain Sterling was able to out wrestle him, and Aljamain Sterling just got out wrestled by who's the guy who I forgot him. Sorry about that, but I forgot him. Um, Evloev, yeah. Aljamain Sterling just got out wrestled by Evloev. So, I mean, okay, I'm not saying Evloev is not that good, but I'm just saying I feel like Henry Cejudo was not the same when he came back. He was older, and that's why, if you've been following my channel for a long time, I picked Aljamain Sterling to beat Henry Cejudo because Henry Cejudo was coming back older. Like he was past his prime when he came back into the UFC. Like there was nothing that he was going to do against someone who's been competing 3 times a year or twice a year at the very top level. Like obviously Aljamain Sterling was going to win, and obviously Merab is going to win because um, Henry Cejudo hasn't been working on his cardio, his conditioning. So obviously he's going to do significantly well against Merab Devalishvili, but again Henry Cejudo. But Umar is different, right? Because unlike every person that Merab has fought, Umar has the ability to actually submit him. So it's not just about shooting takedowns, right? It's about also being careful because like it's not like Merab is going to submit anyone or it's going to knock out anyone. So the only thing that Merab can do is try to take Umar down. And if he does that, it's not going to be like Umar is going to only be concerned about getting up. Umar, if he sees a chance, an opening to submit Merab, he's going to do that. And we've never really seen anyone try to actually effectively or using grappling skills to try to submit Merab Devalishvili because somehow they allow themselves to be controlled on the bottom, right? And they obviously end up getting tired. And when you train with someone like Habib Nurmagomedov, who's probably Merab is using some of the things that Habib was using when he was. So, I don't want to say Habib invented them, but Habib actually made some of the grappling styles that are being used today famous. Like for example, using your legs to wrap around your opponent's legs while you actually try to control their hands. A lot of people were not doing that before Habib Nurmagomedov, as far as I know, right? I stand to be corrected. So he's training with probably one of the most elite grapplers in the history of the UFC, and you're going to tell me that Merab is going to come in there and Umar is not even going to try to submit. Let's not even talk about the stand up because if this fight stays on the feet, um, uh, Merab is going to get knocked down. Like, which is what I think is going to happen. I don't think this fight is going to get to a decision. I think Umar is going to finish Merab. Like that. Like that's how confident I am. I think Umar is going to finish Merab. Um, but it might happen later because obviously, but even early because I feel like Umar's takedown defense is going to be good enough. I could see, you see what was happening to Aljamain Sterling might happen to Merab because people are scared of the offense. But if Merab is on his back, then like there's nothing he can do. Like he can't take you down multiple times, right? If you reverse him and he's on the bottom and you are able to keep him there, there's no threat of him shooting multiple takedowns. And even if he has infinite cardio, like if you are busy getting elbows to your head, then it's a different story, right? So to be honest, I see two things happening. One, when Merab is trying to take down Umar, I could see Umar finding a submission. Two, highly likely Umar is going to reverse, is going to try and use Merab's momentum against him and reverse him, and we're going to see Merab on the bottom, and he's going to actually get beaten up. I can honestly say I don't think it's going to go to a decision. Like honestly, I don't think this fight is going to get to go to a decision. People like to use this dude who knocked down Umar, and even I said when leading up to that fight, I was telling people I don't like how people are underestimating this guy because I've seen what this guy can do. You can go back. I think I was doing live streams at that point. if I wasn't doing live streams, you can check the comments around the fight. Like, just go on my channel and search Umar Nomagomedov. Like, you'll see all his fights on my channel, and then you can go through the comments, and if there was a live stream, you can watch it. I told everyone that I don't like how people are underestimating Umar's opponent because I've seen what this dude can do, and it might be closer than people anticipated it will be, and it was. Right, Umar got knocked down, and I even said going into the fight, before the fight actually happened, I told people, I was like this guy is going to be ranked in the top five. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually goes on to become a contender, based on what I've seen. I don't know where he is. I don't know why he hasn't been. Maybe he's facing some medical issues or whatever the case is. I forgot his name, but the guy is really talented. Based on what I saw, that's basically why I was saying people are underestimating this dude, and he's very good. So I think it's the situation of Islam Makhachev, right? When he was beating Dan Hooker, they were like, Dan Hooker is past his prime. When he beat Bobby Green is not even ranked. Bobby Green went on to get into the top 10 after knocking out Grant Dawson. So a lot of Islam Makhachev's wins eventually matured really well because the fight when he beat um, Aman Saruki, and they were like, nah, he's new. What is not going to amount? Okay, no one said he's not going to amount to anything, but people were like, he's a bottom 10 contender. Like, he didn't beat anyone. That was the argument. Who has he beaten? Why is he getting a title shot? The same way people are basically complaining about Umar. So I feel like Umar's win is going to age really, really well. And that dude is going to go on to knock out a lot of people, and they'll be like, oh, well, okay. Then you have to give credit to him at that particular point. But let's focus on Merab Devalishvili. To be honest, I don't know if this fight will play out on the feet. I could see it playing out on the feet. I could see Umar defending takedowns. But what is more likely, in my opinion, Umar has a smart camp, right? So how do you stop someone who shoots a lot of takedowns, right? You reverse him and you put him on the ground. The whole round he's not going to shoot if you're controlling him on the ground, right? That's the only way, because if you defend one takedown, he's going to come back and try again and try again and try again and try again. Like, that's why I specifically said he's training with Habib. Habib is very smart. Like, is one of the most intelligent fighters. Islam Makhachev, one of the most intelligent fighters on the roster. It's not a coincidence. Anyone who trains with those guys eventually becomes a champion. Look at Bilal Mohammed. People were calling him trash. He started to train with Habib Nurmagomedov. He became a champion. So to me personally, what I think is going to happen, I don't think Umar is going to defend a lot of takedowns. It's either Umar is going to try to take down Merab Devalishvili and actually control him there, or he's going to make sure he tries to reverse him or submit him. If I would be surprised if the fight actually stays on the feet. So yeah, I don't think Merab has a shot at winning this fight. Like, I don't see him actually winning this particular fight. So yeah, on to the next one. My subscribers also picked Umar to actually win this fight. On to the next one. Islam Makhachev versus Aman Sarukian. Um, Islam Makhachev is my subscribers and I went with Islam Makhachev. Um, okay, the final fight, the main event. This is probably the scariest fight on the card for me, because out of everyone on this particular card. By the way, if it wasn't clear, I'm an Islam fan. Like, I think he's one of the most talented people. I remember I made a video, a short, about the most talented strikers, and when I ranked Islam Makhachev, people were going crazy. Or like, Islam is a striker. Are you crazy? He's a grappler. And now people are starting to realize, like, oh shit, that guy outstruck Dustin Poirier. And obviously, it's MMA striking, so obviously because Dustin Poirier had to also be worried about the grappling, maybe that influence. But many people have had that kind of success against Dustin Poirier. So here's my thing, right? I'm only worried because Aman Sarukian is right. Islam Makhachev does not have great conditioning, right? Islam Makhachev does not have great conditioning. Um, Look at the first Volkanovski fight. It looked bad in the last round, and Habib was even upset at Islam Makhachev. And I think that's the reason why Habib, because Habib had stopped being a coach and actually was just living his life. And then after that fight, Habib came back and is now like a coach again. Because if you remember, like Habib had actually stopped the training. He actually announced it that he's not going to be cornering Islam Makhachev for that fight, right? And after that performance, it was even public news that Islam actually said Habib called him and was not very happy with his performance against Alexander Volkanovski, the first performance, right? So I think that's what brought him back. Even in the Dustin Poirier fight, Islam Makhachev was doing significantly well, but he looked a bit labored, right? Um, but with that being said, I feel like there was an improvement in the Dustin Poirier fight. Like, it's not like the first fight with Alexander Volkanovski, which was bad. But the reason is because in the Alexander Volkanovski fight, he was grappling. In the Dustin Poirier fight, he wasn't grappling as much, right? Um, and this is going to be 5 rounds. Aman Sarukian said, I know that Islam Makhachev is very talented, but he doesn't have good conditioning, right? Which is something I think Aman Sarukian is going to try and exploit. Apart from that, I think Islam Makhachev is significantly better everywhere. Not significantly, let me not say that. Slightly better. Because I remember I remember when Aman was coming up and Islam Makhachev I think had just beaten Dan Hooker. If you watch Aman Sarukian's old interviews before Islam Makhachev became a champion, Aman Sarukian said, I'm not preparing for Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is not going to be the champion when I get to the top. It's going to be Islam. I'm preparing for Islam. Islam didn't have the belt at that time. So that worries me because Aman Sarukian had the foresight to say, I'm not going to prepare for this guy. I'm not going to prepare for Charles Oliveira because I'm 100% sure that he's not going to be the champion. You can check. Like he said it on multiple interviews. I remember watching those interviews and I was like, wow, does this guy actually believe in Islam that much? I liked Islam at that point, but I was also worried about Charles Oliveira because Charles Oliveira had the submission abilities and the striking abilities to actually give um, Islam Makhachev a problem. And yet, here is Aman saying, well, that's not going to be the champion when I get to the top. It's going to be Islam. And he was right. So that worries me that Aman Sarukian has been preparing for Islam for such a long period of time. So he has been studying Islam Makhachev, right? Which is very, 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 very worrying, right? So, and like I said, I feel like Islam is slightly better on the feet. Islam is significantly better on the ground. I feel like they are closely matched. Power, I'd give the power advantage to Aman Sarukian, but if Dustin Poirier couldn't land a power shot, I don't think Aman can. But Dustin Poirier did not have the grappling ability, the grappling abilities of Aman Sarukian. So it's going to be a very tricky fight. I'm pretty confident that Islam Makhachev wins, but the difference is so small between the both of them because, like I said, I feel like Islam is slightly better, not significantly. He is slightly better, which means that during this fight camp, Aman Sarukian might close the gap, right? But obviously, maybe Islam is training with Habib, so maybe that might actually improve certain things, especially his grappling. Because I feel like Aman Sarukian, when I was listening to Aman Sarukian, he made really great points. Like, even though it's not a slight, I mean, Alexander Volkanovski was the pound for pound number one at the time, but he couldn't do anything against Alexander Volkanovski on the ground. That wasn't a good look for Islam Makhachev, right? Alexander Volkanovski is not known for his grappling. He's very good defensively. I can agree to that, but Aman Sarukian actually pointed that out, and he was like he was struggling against Alexander Volkanovski. So I feel like Aman Sarukian actually has a solution for Islam Makhachev. Unfortunately, even though it pains me to say this, I think Aman Sarukian might have the solution for Islam Makhachev. Number one, because Aman Sarukian has been studying Islam Makhachev way before Islam ever became a champion. Number two, if you listen to what Aman is saying and you're not trying to be biased, like I'm saying right now, I'm a fan of Islam Makhachev, but I'm not going to let that interfere with me actually analyzing the fights because what Aman Sarukian is saying is actually true, and those are the that's why I'm worried because the fact that he pointed out things that I also saw shows that he's been studying this guy and for a very long period of time. He pointed out the cardio, which a lot of people don't didn't actually realize or didn't actually feel like that's a weakness, which I think is one of Islam's weaknesses. He pointed out the fact that his wrestling is not on the level that people think it is, especially when faced with other elite wrestlers. Like it works perfectly well against the strikers, but against the wrestlers, Aman Sarukian was able to do significantly well against Islam Makhachev on short notice a couple of years ago. Like now, I feel like number one, Aman Sarukian's preparation for this fight is going to be number one wrestling. Why wrestling? Because Aman Sarukian also said Islam Makhachev has a problem with cardio, and he saw the problem with cardio when Islam was wrestling Alexander Volkanovski. So I think Aman Sarukian's plan coming into this fight, he's going to try to wrestle Islam Makhachev. He doesn't think he's going to win all the grappling exchanges, but the purpose for doing that, I think, is going to try to tire out Islam Makhachev because he pointed out, which is something I've also seen, that Islam Makhachev does not have great cardio, especially when he wrestles. So he's going to try to tire out Islam Makhachev with wrestling, and then hopefully hope to maybe get something done in the fourth or fifth round, right? And Aman Sarukian has been did what Khamzat Chimaev was doing. He brought in Olympic level grapplers to actually train with him. So that's not a coincidence. Like if you watch, I don't know if I saw this on the countdown show or on the yeah, I think it was on the countdown. Aman Sarukian brought in grappler like Olympic level grapplers. So that tells me what I'm saying is actually correct. Aman Sarukian's plan is to wrestle Islam Makhachev. He's not going to strike with Islam because he knows Islam is a very talented striker. So that's one of the reasons why now it makes sense why Ilia Tuporia has been saying he's going to be the first person to submit Islam Makhachev because a lot of people are now starting to realize that you have, if you know how to wrestle, you have a higher probability of success with Islam on the ground if you know what you're doing than on the feet. Which is crazy because a lot of people think Islam is just a grappler. But if you look at the most talented fighters, or rather the ones that I've spoken about, which are Ilia Tuporia and Aman Sarukian, both of them are seemingly targeting Islam Makhachev's wrestling because they don't think it's as strong as people think it is. And I agree. If you're struggling against someone who is not even known for his wrestling, in Alexander Volkanovski, that's not a good look. And Islam Makhachev has fallen in love with striking, and he's good at it. You can't really blame him for. Who's your most confident on this card? I'm going to get back to that. So let me actually conclude this particular video. I think I've broken down these fights like as much as possible, especially the top three. But let me just finish my thought on this particular fight. For me personally, based on my analysis, and I'm going to repeat myself, Islam's weaknesses are cardio and wrestling. I agree. If the opponent knows how to wrestle, that's the condition. And Aman Sarukian is the perfect because he's basically from the same region. Is from basically like the same region, everything, and he looks like he's beyond in shape. So Aman is going to wrestle, and I'm worried about that. He's going to try and drain Islam Makhachev's cardio, and once he drains it, he's going to try and finish Islam Makhachev in the. He doesn't care if he loses the first 3 rounds because he understands that Islam Makhachev trains with Habib, so there's going to be a lot of tricky positions. But he thinks if I wrestle this guy, he's going to guess out, and I'm going to actually get an opportunity in the fourth or final round, and I can actually get it done as long as my cardio is still better than his, which is what I think Arman is going to do. But still, we're talking about Islam here. Like, it's not like an average fighter. I'm still going to stick with Islam Makhachev because I still feel like he's the better fighter slightly everywhere. But if there's one weakness that he has, I think it's wrestling and cardio. And I think that's what Aman Sarukian is going to exploit. So, yeah, that concludes my breakdowns. Let me give you. There were people who were asking me. I normally give you my most confident picks when I do my upsets predictions because I like to do a little bit more research. For the first time in a very long time, my upsets predictions, um, especially my locks, um, I got more than one wrong last week. It was not great. Because normally my locks are solid. They have been for the past couple of months, but yeah. Anyway, so far my at the top of my head, my most confident pick at number one would be Rinya Nakamura. Number two would be Umar Nomagomedov, and number three would probably be Peyton Talbot. I'll probably have maybe some. I'll confirm this. I'll confirm this when I do my upset predictions. But yeah, just to recap, number one is Rinya Nakamura. That's the most confident. Number two would be Umar Nomagomedov, and number three would be Peyton Talbot. Those are my most confident picks. Let me respond to you guys so I can bounce. Um, Let me see. People forget, man. People forget. Let me respond to you guys. Um, wow, there's a couple of messages, but I don't have a lot to do today, so let's let's get it. Wow, so many messages. Damn. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Big boss, what are you thinking about Moicano and Hill? I think I broke that down. My head even hurts. You can watch the stream once I'm done. I broke that, especially. Let me see. The Hill fight. I actually broke it down like heavily. I broke it down heavily. Um, Meikano or Dariush. That's going to be a tricky fight because I think it's going to be very close because both of them have the same type of skills. But I'm leaning more towards, obviously, like I said, Moicano because he has the momentum and he has the mindset. He still believes he can become a champion. I don't think Dariush still believes that. And motivation plays a big factor in how you train. So, Moicano. Seabass, you got the samurai or the salt. What's that?
Gokhan Aaron Almeida not gonna submit Spivak. I think fight goes to the distance and Almeida win by decision. I also agree. See Bess, poor Cameron. As memory, what country are you in? South Africa. Gokhan Aaron and the Grizzler gonna win by decision if Holland won't show up. Yeah, I honestly agree. DN Holland, Mirab, Benil, Parlay. Nah, man. Maybe you can try it. You know, maybe it might hit, but Mirab is not gonna win. Out of all those people, Mirab is not gonna win. Um, Yannick Spruit. I'm Dutch, but man, the Raider looked super awful in his last fight. I agree. I mean, that's the challenging thing about that particular fight is that both of them are not particularly great. So it's not like Kevin Holland looked great, has been looking great in his last couple of fights. So that's what makes it difficult. I mean, losing to Dolita, like Dolita has horrible takedowns, and Kevin Holland still got taken down. Like that was terrible. Gokhan Aaron, most risky parlay I ever seen. I agree. Yannick Holland, Dain, RDR ain't beating Holland. I guess we'll see, my guy. Yannick Spruit, we'll see. Yeah, I agree. Gokhan Aaron, RDR gonna take him down and wait for a boring decision. I also see the same thing happening. It's crazy to trust from a guy like Holland, but he said he's been working on takedowns and grappling in camp. I mean, he always says that, so it's hard to like. This is not the first time Kevin Holland says I've been working on my grappling. So like, you can't really trust him to actually be honest. Gokhan Aaron, Kevin Holland, but Holland is far superior on the field. So who knows? Yeah, I agree. That's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit worried. If RDR Reina de Rizla can take him down, then it's over. I agree. Dian Benil, better striker than Renato. That's why I say it's going to shock a lot of people. Dian Benil only like 30 some. I don't know why people acting like he's 40 years old. The thing is, once you hit the age of 35, you start to decline. It doesn't matter who you are. And I've made this example a lot of times. Look at when a lot of people lost their belt, like the most incredibly talented fighters, they lost their belts close to 35. Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, like all these people lost their belts close to their prime, but again, close to 35. Um, who else? Alexander Volkanovski. Like I can keep going. So like we're not saying they're old, but when you are at the top of the division, once you hit 35, your abilities as a fighter start to decline. At championship level, you can still be competitive below that, but at championship level, most recently, it's only Bilal who's been able to actually win a title at that age. You can also go check if you don't believe me. Gokhan Aaron Benil is better striker, also better on the ground overall, but I don't know the second. I don't know the second most risky match on this card. I agree. DN, yeah, Holland and Benil are risky, but the card before might be there. I gotta do it. Okay. Um, Gokhan Aaron, we're gonna do it. Gokhan Aaron. If Dariush, let me turn on the light. Hopefully, but it's not doing that much of a difference. I look weird now. Anyway, if Dariush show up like he did in Gamrot fight, it's over for Moicano. I agree. As has Jiri will win. I agree. Then Hill is too flat-footed. I agree. Then I want him to win, but that alone will make him lose. Okay, at least you know that. Um, DDLD, DDLD. No trash, dog. We all wrong sometimes. I appreciate that, my guy. DDLD, Jamal loses to Halil as well. Yep. DN also agrees. Facts. DDLD, people forget, man. Kamran Sarabon, bro, I'm in huge loss. Why? Monet, he's lost like four people. DDLD, he cleaned up Ray kick. He stole it against Glover. Lost to Alex badly twice, but that's it. Um, okay, that's fair. In the UFC, he's lost to only Alex. Yep, that's my point. User 12 me. Okay. Kamran Yiri can lose only if he get caught. Yeah, I also agree, but I think Yiri is going to win. Jamal lost to Craig. Yeah. User 12 Jamal is going to sleep him. I guess we'll see, man. I still feel like Jamal is not tested. DDLD, I think this fight is 50-50. Something similar to Ray Kick fight. Very risky, but I agree. Monet lost to Mohamed Lawal. Okay. And Abdul and lost to Bojan as well. Yeah, I think maybe that's outside the UFC. I wanted inside the UFC. Shashwat Raj. What do you think about over 1.5 in Hill versus Jerry? I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of emotion in this fight. It probably ends. It might end before that. There's a high possibility that it might end before that. Um, Curvy boy, wow, a curvy boy. And who's your most confident on this card? Rinya Nagamura, followed by Umar. Shah Shwad, method of victory for Almeida, and Moicano. I'd say decision. Brendan Murphy, Jiri versus Hill. I already broke that down. Went with Yiri. Kevin Durant, solid inside the big dog. Appreciate you. Let's get this money. Nah, my pleasure, man. It's passion. I love this sport. Brendan Murphy, how about the flyweight fight, Tagir versus Clayton Carpenter? I already broke that down. You can always watch the stream once I'm done. Kevin Durant, Tagir versus Clayton. I was late to the stream, to the live. I said a couple of things, and it's been like an hour, dude. But I was basically saying I feel like Clayton has a shot at winning. You can always go back and watch the beginning of the stream. Um, Shashwat Raj method of victory for Tagir, Sopaj and Nakamura. I don't know. I'd say Nakamura maybe finish. Sopaj, I don't know. Potentially decision. Him and Tagir decision. I think. Johnson C. Do you think Ferreira beats Dawson? There's a possibility, but unlikely. Nakamura wins. Yep. Willie Mays Hayes. Jiri is very hittable, and Jamal can hit hard. Just my first thought when I saw this matchup. I think I broke it down heavily. Like I went deep into why I think it's a close fight, but I feel like Jamal Hill is gonna lose. You can always watch the stream. It's late as you can see, guys. Nakamura sub or KO. It's hard because he can win however he wants. He can submit him. He can knock him out. So it's difficult to actually predict how he's going to win the fight. Um, but I think the best thing you can do is look at what his opponent is not good at. He's probably going to win the opposite of that. So I'd say maybe, I don't know. Just look at his opponent's weaknesses. So if maybe his opponent is a strong wrestler, that's why I said I broke this fight down. So you'd need to go back to listen to what I said. But yeah, basically look at his opponent's weaknesses and then decide from there. If you have to pick one though, which one is more likely in your opinion? Okay, got it. Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. I have to go, guys. We've been together for like almost 2 hours now. See you Friday for the Obsessed Predictions. Friday or Saturday. Then I'm going to live stream the whole entire card. I might miss the early prelims, but the prelims and the main card I'm going to stream. I love and appreciate. Actually, I'm not going to miss anything. I love and appreciate all of you. See you Friday. Until then, deuces. Um, uh,